What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. Another day, another NullRev speeder from me. This is the NullRev that I have created. I didn't make it. I feel weird saying that this is my hilt still and that I made it because a lot of these parts I didn't really make. Like, I didn't machine any of these parts. I did design some of them and have had some parts printed in aluminum and brass. But yeah. I do love this speeder. This is my interpretation of a speeder bike grip or a Koran horn hilt, right? Speeder bike grip, lightsaber, Koran horn hilt, right? So anyhow, I do want to come into Fusion and talk about this chassis. I feel like I haven't done it in a while, right? So we are going to talk about the chassis that went into this build, and then we will come up top. I will talk a little bit about what parts go into the build, and we will also do a demo. I don't know why I can't talk this morning. I haven't had my coffee, right? So anyhow, let's come into Fusion. All right, here it is. The chassis for the Tierfon Orbital Koran Horn NullRev Speeder Bike Grip Hilt. I should just name it that from now on and just have the description and the name, like the title of it, take up the whole page, right? So, all right, let's start at the bottom, right? So at the bottom, I have a 4-rail PCB, right? Our 4-pin PCB. I get this from my buddy Herb over at Stardust Sabers. The reason I need 4 conductors down here is because I also have a lit LED in the pommel. The pommel does have a speaker pod that houses a 28mm speaker, as well as a small red LED. So that's why I need those 4 conductors. 2 for my speaker, excuse me, and 2 for my LED. Negative battery tab is down here as well. All of that, all of those wires travel up the spine of the chassis into the board compartment, right? And then around back, I've got nothing. So there are greeblies on each side of this chassis as well. This chassis in particular was done in PLA. Okay, so I've got greebly work on both sides of that chassis. Around the back, or front rather, this is where our Proffie board lives, right? So I went with a tilted Proffie board setup for this chassis to save a little bit of space, so you have access to the SD card and USB port just underneath the lip of the threading of this hilt. I'll talk about that when we come up top and get a little closer look at the hilt itself. All right. So this is where I can make all my splices, etc., wire up the board. This window is where I bring my 2 conductors for the external kill switch. So one of the things that I really wanted about this hilt, or I wanted to incorporate into this hilt, was not only an external LED in the pommel, but an external kill switch. I really, really love having an external kill, especially when you have a Proffie board build, right? So that is where those 2 leads come out, as well as my switch leads. I've got a custom control box on the outside of this hilt, and that's where I bring those leads for that, okay? And then up top, of course, we've got our lit PCB emitter. This is from KR Sabers. All right? And that's it. Nice, simple, static chassis. It is relatively thin. The internal diameter of the grip on this hilt is 1 inch. So not a lot of space. That's why I try to use a tilted Proffie board setup whenever I have a small, short internal diameter in a chassis, or in a hilt rather, and I really, really like the way that comes out, right? Because you can access your SD card and your USB without pulling any kind of board up or anything like that. So I do like that. So that's it. Let's come up top. So here it is, the NullRev from Tierfon Orbital. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the parts that went into this hilt. I'll talk about some of the design, the custom design parts. We'll talk about the whole thing, right? So typically with these builds, I don't powder coat these parts. I do have a very out of the ordinary way of painting these parts, right? I actually do aluminum black on all of this. So all of this black is aluminum black that I've sealed. I just like the matte look of aluminum black. I really like the grimy used look of aluminum black. So all of these parts are aluminum blacked and then sealed, okay? So at the bottom here, let's start with the pommel, right? The pommel greebly is based on a switch box that you can get from the custom saber shop, but I designed something a little bit more unique to me, right? So this is a custom designed greebly that is printed in aluminum. The bottom pommel cap, not this pommel cap, but this bottom pommel piece is also custom. I designed that to have this this nubbin here because I wanted to add another second dummy LED. So there is a smaller, like 2mm LED inside of here. The pommel cap is from Custom Saber Shop. So for the most part, the base layer or the base profile of the hilt are all the Custom Saber Shop parts, or parts from the Custom Saber Shop. This MHS V2 to V1 adapter is from the Custom Saber Shop. All of the internal parts here are from Custom Saber Shop. They're all various adapters and extensions. The emitter is from the Custom Saber Shop. So other than that, the greeblies I designed and printed in aluminum, right? So that pommel greebly here is in aluminum. These clamps are also printed in aluminum, and they have some Aurebesh branding in them. I don't know if this is going to come out on camera, but there's in here. I also printed a small Jedi logo, Rebel logo, and painted that red, and that goes inside of this clamp here. This tubing, this corrugated or this coiled tubing, I did a short reel on how I create this, right? This is a sterling silver bezel, like for jewelry, that I just twist around a rod to give it that look. I could not find these anywhere that looked the way that I wanted them to, so I just made my own, right? There's that external kill switch. We have a custom clamp card here. This is from CAS Designs, and the switch box is custom designed as well, and you can kind of see Corellia branding on the side of this. This does say Tierfon up front here, so I'm really happy with this. I based this control box off a Hakusen shoe mount, right? But that's done in brass and weathered. And this bar up here, also brass, weathered. Various greeblies and hardware, all heat stained and weathered. And our knurled blade retention screw up here is also been heat stained. But that's it, right? I do believe I already have a battery in here, but let's go ahead and take the grip off. So here is the chassis. This was done in matte black PLA. Really happy with the level of detail on this PLA. I've already got the battery in here, but to you, the customer, this build takes a button top 18650 battery protected. So you want to take the flat part of your battery, put it down in that battery tray. You're not going to hear anything because you don't have the speaker pod connected yet. So in this pommel, there is also a speaker pod that just lives inside of this pommel. It just stays in there. Okay, we've got a 28mm speaker in there. So once you get your battery in, you can go ahead and put your grip back in place. Just thread that grip on until it stops. Okay, and then you can hit your kill switch. There is that lit LED in the pommel there. Hopefully that's coming out on camera. Okay. So around this claw, I completely forgot to mention this claw. So this claw is also custom designed. I designed this in Fusion, and this whole thing is printed in aluminum, right? So inside of that claw, there is a steel ball tactile switch here that will serve as your aux. And then this clamp card is your main. Okay? And that's it. Let's come down to the bottom. There's your lit PCB emitter, and that lit LED in the pommel. I really like that feature of this hilt. Oops. Great sounding hilt. We've got a 28mm bass speaker in here from Smuggler's Outpost. Let's put a blade in it. So this will take a 1-inch blade. All right, you want to rest your blade on those PCB pins. So this steel knurled thumb screw will serve as your blade retention. So once you get your blade in, you can tighten that and you will be ready to go. such a good sounding hilt. So there is that lit LED in the pommel. I love that feature of this hilt. Okay. So I believe I've set this config up with color wheel. So to access color wheel, you want to hold down that aux button, that steel ball tactile switch. Hold that down and tap main.
Red.
And then you can rotate your hilt. When you find a color you like, tap main again and it will lock that color in place, okay? I'm not sure why that took so long. Let's try that again.
Red. Orange red. Dark orange.
Let's see what else we've got on here, config-wise. So the fonts that are on this config, I believe there are 4 or 5 active fonts. They are the fonts that were included on the SD card with this Proffie board, right? So they're just stock fonts. Let's see what else we got.
Young Ray.
So to the customer, again, this is your aux button. So to scroll through your fonts, you want to press that aux button while the blade is pointed up. While the blade is pointed up, it will scroll forward in your font config. If you point it down, it will go back in your font config, right? So let's see what else we got here. That aux button will simulate a blaster bolt fire if you tap it. And then you can clash the blade and hold that aux button down to simulate lockup. All right, let's do one more.
The NASA team is ready for launch. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. That's it. That's the Tierfon Orbital. NullRev. Really proud of this one, right? So, anyhow, to the customer, I almost tripped over my dog. You want to say hi to him? Here. Come here. Here's Apollo. A lot of people have been asking about Apollo. He's getting bigger. Yeah, he's a good boy. But I almost tripped over him. Anyway, to the customer, thank you very... All right, buddy. Thank you very much for your order. To the customer, thank you very much for your order. I have now opened up another round of slots for the NullRev on my website, so if anyone is interested, we'll put the link in the description below, right? So thank you, everyone, for watching. If you have any questions about this hilt or install, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.